Get ready for an epic episode today. So, before I dive into today's episode around emotional safety, safety to speak, safety to voice your thoughts, feelings, and opinions in your relationship, where you feel like you can be fully you and not be judged. We're going to dive into this. It's crucial for every couple. So, even if you feel like you're nailing this, I feel every couple can always improve and do better, right? Myself included. Today, before I dive into that, my share for today is, for starters, is a reflection point for you based on what's going on for me. So, one of them is right now, my husband and I are actually in the process of making quite a big decision and change for myself and my family and what that might look like. And when you're in the flux of a big decision, so I'm not going to share what it is right now, you probably know eventually, but while we're in the flux of making this decision, exciting things come up, scary things come up, worries come up, all of those things when there's something new, like the unknown, you're not sure what it's going to look like, feel like, sound like, how's it going to be? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to be worth it? Is it not? Like all the things. And you're talking about it, adding up pros and cons. And I just want you to reflect and think when you guys just come up to these pivotal moments in life because things change and that's just how it rolls, right? When you come up to these things, how do you and your partner approach it? How open, receptive, honest, and vulnerable are you with one another? Because it's really the key to making a good decision is both of your opinions being valued and appreciated. There's openness and curiosity and transparency around what you both feel because that also allows support, right? If you know your partner is feeling frustrated, for example, then you can support that person, your partner, in a better way. Just off the back end of all these conversations my husband and I have been having, I want you to reflect and think when we have these, can we just talk it out? Be open, curious, transparent, honest, vulnerable, real, raw, all of the things with one another without getting defensive, without getting annoyed, without getting frustrated, because it's so important to make epically empowering decisions. So, just a quick little reminder and note on that. And this leads actually perfectly into what we're talking about today. Because often we are really scared to share things with our partner. And I mean, not because your partner is terrible or anything like that, but because we don't want to upset them. We don't want to annoy them. We don't want to frustrate them. We want harmony and peace and all of these things, right? So it makes sense. However, the problem comes when you can't be freely yourself. If you can't voice your opinions, say what you think and what you feel, if you have none of that emotional safety, then it becomes difficult to have full self expression because you start repressing and suppressing yourself. Let's dive into the top tips. So, number one is to practice active listening. You just have to repeat back what the other person said so you can be on the same page. You can acknowledge what they're saying, make sure they feel heard and seen and valued and appreciated with eye contact. It is so important. I talk about this all the time. I'm going to keep talking about it because sometimes I can talk to couples for 5 sessions before they even do it on their own. Crazy, but true. Hence the reminders. Number two, create a judgment free zone. It is crucial that you don't judge what your partner's thinking and feeling and wanting and needing. They have the right to think and feel how they want. Does that mean you believe it's true and accurate? No, probably not. Maybe sometimes, but because you're looking through your lens. So they're looking through their lens, through their values, thoughts, feelings, opinions, beliefs, past experiences, and all of the things. And they're seeing one thing. You're looking through your lens and seeing another. That is okay. We are allowed to have these things, and emotions inherently are often quite irrational. Yeah. There's not often a lot of logic. So it's really important to just allow the space. Sometimes when we allow the space, we help our other person to feel loved, seen, valued, and appreciated. That feeling and that emotion passes, or that worry and concern passes because they just need someone to hold the space for them. Yeah. I have an episode on that. I'll see if I can grab it on holding the space as well. Honestly, especially men should go listen to it. And don't get me wrong, it's useful for everyone, but typically women are the ones wanting the space held. Okay. Go and listen to that one as well after this. It's well worth a listen. Number three is use I statements to express feelings because you don't want to have them defensive. You want to say, I feel, I need, not, you never listen to me, you never do this, you never look after me, you never whatever. You need to use I statements so they feel less defensive, on guard, and what you're saying is better received. Number four, set boundaries for difficult conversations. Sensitive topics can escalate so quickly. So you've got to approach them carefully. You've got to set them up to success. So you've got to agree on specific guidelines, have things in place. I will say to couples, no threats, no ultimatums, no yelling or shouting or swearing and things like this, because what you want to do is you want to protect the relationship. If we do things like that, it erodes the relationship. What I'm here to tell you is that you can set your own guidelines, agree on them before, take breaks as needed. You don't have to push through and push through all the time. Sometimes people need processing time before they can come back with a rational thought, especially if we get into fight and flight in the middle of a conversation. Please set your conversation up for success. Tell them you want to have a conversation. Maybe you're a bit worried about it, and you can we just have some guidelines and rules so we can make sure this conversation goes well? That we practice self-regulation if we get triggered, that we pause if we need to, that we come back and finish the conversation, that we're going to be open and curious no matter what the other person says. And maybe we even need to deep breathe because we're a little triggered. It's okay. Got to do what you got to do to have that productive conversation. Yeah. Number 5, show empathy and patience. When couples get in trouble, they often have lost all patience and all empathy. Hurt people. I know it's the cliche. I know it's the quote that everyone says. It's true. What do you want me to do? Empathy builds trust and emotional safety. You have to empathize with one another. It helps you be more comfortable with being vulnerable. So often people will say, well, I want my partner to tell me what's going on. I want to know, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, there's no empathy if you are not empathetic to where they're at. Now, you might not like what they've done or what they are doing. I get that, but they're still a human struggling. And here's the clincher, right? Here's where people get it wrong. They expect everyone to live by their thoughts, feelings, and standards and expectations and values. We don't all hold the same thoughts, feelings, standards, and expectations and values. We also don't all hold the same capabilities, the same emotional intelligence, the same, all of that. We don't. And so sometimes it's unfair to place your thoughts, feelings, standards, and expectations to be the same as your partner because they may not have the capabilities or maybe they need to upskill a few things, and that's okay. It's not fair, right? Just it's not fair for them to do it to you. And people get really caught up in this and wonder why their partner will never open up to them. It's because you have no patience with them, and it's because you're not showing any empathy. I know your partner might go to work every day, and every day he or she may come home and say it sucks. It was hard. It was this, it was that. If you check out and you stop listening, that causes a fracture in your relationship. Then if you stop spending time in the evening together, causes another fracture. Then if you stop texting throughout the day, another fracture. Now, I'm not saying you have to do all these things. My point is the more fractures we have in our relationship, the more disconnect we have, the more hurt and pain, resentment we have, and it builds and builds and builds over time. You must have an environment where you feel free to be you, to speak up, to say what you think and feel honestly. Otherwise, there's no authenticity, there's no realness, there's no emotional intimacy, doesn't strengthen your connection. If you're walking on eggshells, you feel this is all so hard. Cultivating a space that is safe for you to express freely is 100% the game. And for both people, let me be clear, for both people to express clearly. I want you to go back and I want you to think, what is it you're not doing to foster emotional connections? It doesn't matter if you have the most amazing relationship, you can still fine tune this. Are you practicing active listening? Do you create a judgment free zone? Do you use I statements to express your feelings? Do you set boundaries for difficult conversations? Do you show empathy and patience? Which one do you need to work on? Write it down. If you're driving, don't write it down, but take note and then think, how are you going to put this into place? What does displaying empathy look like? For example, I'm so sorry that work sucked today, that it was hard. I'm so, so sorry to hear that. That is empathy. That is me displaying empathy. Or to take it to another level, I'm so sorry to hear that you feel like that. That really sucks. I'm sorry it was such a hard day. How can I support you right now? What do you need? Can you see how that's the next level? I'm empathizing, I'm validating, and I'm supporting. What do you need right now? Maybe you have a headache. Maybe you need Panadol and drink of water and a shower. What do you need? Because sometimes when you give your partner that 10 minutes, 15 minutes to debrief after work, come back as human, look out. It doesn't mean the whole night has to turn bad. Sometimes it does, and then you go to bed, whatever. But my point is when you give them what they need and help and support them, then when you need it, it's in return. Because again, relationships, this is a bit of a personal share, but I think when we look at what our lives are for, What gives us the most joy is to give in every way, to help others, to support, to give, to look after each other. And if we can't do that with the person we claim to love the most, where can we? Okay, if you've got something from this episode, I would love you to hit the subscribe button so you can get every single episode. And please leave a review. I want to know who's listening. I want to know if you like it. I want to know what parts you liked, what you took away from it, and what you are applying to your relationship. So it's time for you to turn your relationship on.